Hello there, and welcome back to the Impact Zone podcast, TNA fam. We're here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and today I want to talk about the Chris Jericho rumors that he's possibly coming to TNA. Like, there's always going to be rumors of who's going where, what's happening with who, etc. All this sort of stuff. This sort of stuff happens all the time. And, like, I don't know, I don't have an inside scoop. I don't think many people have an inside scoop, but it does seem like there's stuff going on with Jericho. It seems like he's finished up with AEW, or at least potentially finished up with AEW, according to a lot of different people. Now, a lot of the thought is that he will go to WWE and have a retirement run. But there is also a bit of a rumor that he might be coming to TNA, even just for a short term, maybe 3 months, 6 months, something like that, or perhaps even longer. Who knows? You don't know how somebody's going to fit in, or how like WWE wants to do things, or what have you. I think there's been a lot of negative stuff said about Chris in the last like couple of years and whatnot by a lot of people and whatnot. But I honestly think that they're a bunch of idiots for the most part. Like, yes, Jericho can't wrestle the way he used to wrestle. Like, that's not a big surprise, bro. You know, like, come on. Like, you expect him to be the luchador forever, yet you complain at every twist and turn that he hasn't evolved, like, would have complained if he hadn't evolved his style or his gimmick or whatever. Like, bro, what? You know what I mean? Like, people can't decide. Some people can't decide what they want. You know, in my opinion, they can't decide whether they want Chris Jericho to be the spot monkey, effectively, which they complain about everyone being a spot monkey nowadays. And doing too much out there and whatnot and all this stuff, or that they want him to, they don't want this version of him where it's just like him doing, these promos and whatnot, or whatever else it is, whatnot. If the dude is working smart and doing fewer, like, TV matches and just, like, holding out, and especially, like, holding out his better stuff to do on pay-per-views, that's just smart. That is just smart. Like I say this about, like, the Hardys. Like, though they to me, it feels like they're a bit overworked, perhaps. So that's perhaps the issue there. So, maybe, like I said, maybe, guys, it's time to cut some of those other indie promotions out. Because, like you say, hey, we can't go at the level that we should have or need to sometimes, but we also have all the money that we would ever want or ever need. We do obviously, you do love this, that's fine. You want to do this for the love of the game or whatever. If you want to help put other people over and that sort of thing, that's up to you, man. But, like, just speaking physically, saying, hey, we just can't do this. This is, we can't keep doing all these matches and whatnot. It's burning us out. It's just too much, Like, let's just, do a few matches here and there, maybe two a week. That's it. Like, 1 or 2 a week. That's it. No more. Like, we're not going to wrestle in 50 different promotions. If we have a promo or something, that's fine. If we have a big tag team match, where we're the 4th team and we only just come in to do a little bit of the work, that's fine, or whatever. We don't have to do all the work, like, we can rely on the other guys, and, like, we'll get the big pop at the end, and that's all we sort of need to do, and then we can send the crowd home happy. That's fine, especially on those indie shows or whatever. Obviously on pay-per-view, there's a lot more of expectation, especially with TNA and whatever. But yeah, like, same sort of thing. Like, if there's any chance of Jericho coming in, if he's going to work TV, I don't think he's going to work very many TV matches, but if he's going to work TV matches, in theory at least, I feel like he'd be working a much more, not just safe, but much more laid back sort of style, in those TV matches. He'd be pulling out the big guns, or more of the big guns or whatever, for pay-per-view style matches that are, built up and whatnot. So my question, I think, with these rumors about Jericho possibly coming in is like what you could do with him. I think you'd have to build him as like one of the top attractions in the company, even for a short to medium term, like 3 to 6 months or whatever. He would be absolutely like a high paid person, and he'd be one of the big attractions. So the idea that you'd have to bring him in and you'd have to put somebody over him is sort of like at least a couple of people over him, is the goal, So he has to come in with like a feud. He can't just come in and like, if he comes in, he can't just lose. If he loses, then he's losing like a lot of the momentum that he sort of came in with. So you've got to give him something, where he can win, and then you can go, okay, 3-4 months later, after a long, chase or through all the goons or whatever, somebody gets their redemption on him, that sort of thing. I don't think you need the title on him to do that, but I think like putting the title on him to do something like that obviously is a lot more satisfying in some ways, but like, you don't need to do that. You still can do other things. But yeah, like, it is a rumor. So maybe you'll turn up, maybe you won't turn up. So maybe all this thought of like, well, what's he going to do? How's he going to do it is like irrelevant or what have you. But I think it's fun sometimes to think about like how you would have to utilize somebody to, especially of that level, of that caliber. If you're just bringing in like people that most people have either never heard of or have maybe only seen on the B level or C level shows, then obviously you don't need to bring them in with a lot more fanfare, because it's going to be a lot more difficult for people to be like, oh yeah, we know who this guy is because we saw them for 5 minutes on this B level, C level show or whatever. Cool, great. This person's in the company now. Right, cool. That's probably not going to be the reaction. The reaction is going to be, who the fudge is this person? What are they doing here? So, and you're just starting that like journey for them in the company. You're just starting to say, hey, this is a tag team effectively, or this is this singles person. Here they are, and people might be like, okay, who the heck is this? Got no clue who this is. But then that's what you're doing. You're starting to say, okay, we're introducing this person or these people, whatever it is. And the fans are going to be like, okay, why should we care? So that's your job once they've debuted and once they've appeared, or given them something to work with. You're kind of indicating where they're going or what they're all about or whatever and all of that sort of stuff. So, you've got to have them come in and debut and beat somebody or whatever, especially somebody that's kind of been there for a while, fairly established or whatever. And then be like, aha, we've beaten one of the best, I've beaten one of the best people in this division, or we've beaten one of the best tag teams in this division, whatever, one of the most established teams, and I want whatever, you've got to give them a mission, him, her, them, whatever, a mission statement of saying, this is what I want, we want, whatever it is, whether it's a tag team or a single star or whatever. They've got to come in, either get a big win or whatever, and then say, hey, this is what I'm after or what we're after or whatever, and then especially like when you're getting into a feud with somebody, bringing up history and saying, hey, we've actually beaten you in the past, or whatever it was, things like that. So we know we can beat you, or I can beat you, or whatever else it is, So I know we can win those titles, or I know I can win those titles, or whatever else it is. So you're starting from scratch with people. Like, you're trying to show them, hey, these guys are really talented, or this guy, or whatever, this gal, whatever, is really talented. They're here now. You might not know their name, or you might not have heard of them, or might not have seen them, but whatever. They're here now, and they're building momentum, and they've beat this person and that person, and it's like, oh, and now they're on this pathway towards winning this other thing, or getting into this division. So now you're like, oh, okay, we're starting to see more and more of this person, or more and more of, like, what's going on, or how is this person gonna fit in, because it's like nothing is like truly over until it's like over in many ways. Like Mace Warner, he debuted, like, was it last year? And I think a lot of him, really, as a character, and a pretty decent wrestler, but he's come a long way in many ways, and he's not finished, he's not buried, not yet, but you've got to make everyone kind of stand out, which is kind of hard. You can't make everyone stand out at the same time. You need to make a few people kind of really stand out, and then the rest of the people are kind of like, yeah, they can stand out later, like they'll get their win back later, or whatever else it is, and then they'll stand out then a bit more, like. So the Rascals are always going to kind of stand out because they've been there for so long, and they're well established, things like that. So if you're bringing in somebody like Jericho, you don't really need to establish that guy. He's the complete opposite. People are going to be hyped for Jericho appearing, if he's going to appear. But is he going to appear? Obviously, we don't know, but you don't need to do a lot of work. But the process of saying, okay, is he going to be a heel? Is he going to be a baby face? Where's he going to fit? What's he going to do? Because if you bring him in and his first thing is to lose to somebody, then he's losing a lot of momentum. But if he's yes, if he beats somebody, you're kind of making, quote unquote, them lose momentum or whatever. But if you're giving them a story or something to kind of redeem them with, it's a lot better. It's not very good if he comes in as a babyface, in my opinion, then it's like whoever he beats is going to be in a worse position, because it's hard. It's a lot harder for a heel to come back and say, I got my redemption, or whatever it is, that sort of thing. It's not impossible, obviously, but it's just a lot harder of a story, and a lot of the fans don't really get into that. If he comes in as a heel, then I think it's a lot easier of a story for him to beat somebody by hook or by crook or by whatever, and then go along for a few months and him have goons and all this other stuff, or whatever else it is, and then down the line, this other person that he beat finally gets to him and finally gets his redemption. That's a lot easier of a story to tell. And it's tough because it's like Jericho's such a big legend and people would be happy in some ways to see him, in some ways, at least I think. So it's like, and the thing is, again, even if you've got somebody that's fairly established, you still need a mission statement from them, kind of thing. Why are you here? Why are you in TNA? Why are you coming here? You're not just coming here because it's a cool little, it might be a cool little thing to do, because it's hey, I've been to WWE, I've been to every major promotion, I've been to New Japan, I've been to WCW and AEW, now I've finally come here to TNA, and my goal is to win the world title. Why? Why is that? Because then I will have held, the WWE title, the WCW title, the AEW title, and the TNA title. All the major titles that are basically in the business. Except for maybe the New Japan. Did he ever win the New Japan? I don't think he did. Whatever. Or the NWA. I don't think. But whatever. Doesn't really matter. If he says, this is one of the last titles that I have to win, that's a major championship that I haven't won. Something like that. That's a simple mission statement. That's what he wants to come in and do. That's what a lot of people want to come in and do, honestly. But, hearing that and hearing it from his perspective and saying, hey, I've been in WCW and da-da-da-da, and I've been here and I've been there and I've been here and I've been there, and I've won every single one of those titles. I haven't been here and I haven't won a title. It's time for me to come here. This is the last place that I haven't been and won a major title, that I could have wrestled in, basically. So that could be his mission statement, obviously. How you go about that, again, is a little bit, up to interpretation, I guess, as well. But that's if he's coming in. It'd be cool to see him in some ways, obviously, in other ways, whatever. But still, if he doesn't come in, am I going to sit here and gripe and cry and whatever else that he didn't come or whatever? No, I'm not going to sit here and gripe and cry if he doesn't come. If he goes to WWE and goes and does his thing and goes and retires or whatever he's going to do over there, that's all cool. Or even if he goes over there and he's in NXT, or he comes over here in an NXT exchange or whatever, that's cool too. I fine with that as well. Or if he never comes over here, that's fine too. I don't care. Whatever he wants to do is up to him. It's not like we're going to beg and plead and cry on our knees for him to come over. If he comes over, cool, great, awesome. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see what you're going to do here in TNA, and let's make it the best that it can be. But otherwise, whatever. You go do you, man. Good luck to you. All the respect in the world, whatever. But I don't care. If you're here, you're here. Cool. If you're not here, you're not here. That's cool too. I don't care. I'm not going to... I've got no time to sit here and be like, oh man, he didn't turn into TNA. Oh man. Same thing with AJ. I'd absolutely love AJ to come back and work in TNA. One more big match, that'd be great. I know a lot of people want more than one big match, but even just one more big match would be great. But if it's not going to happen, then it's not going to happen at the end of the day. I'll be sad that it doesn't happen with AJ, but if it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to keep sitting here and crying about it. I might be mad about it or whatever, but I'll just it just didn't happen. So sad, too bad. There's other things to worry about or to try to do and say, hey, well, we still need to build our roster. We still need to build our stories. We actually need to create our stars. We need to create another AJ then, or we need to create another Bobby Roode, or we need to create another James Storm, or another Samoa Joe, or somebody like that. Somebody that can take the reins and, drive this company forward into the next thing. That's the same thing for Jericho. If he's not going to turn up, well, we've got to make our own Chris Jericho. We've got to make our own, person to carry the company. And that's what they've been doing. They've been doing it without Jericho, and we could do it without him in the future. So, obviously, we could do it with him as well, but, it's not necessary that he needs to come in and do it. And I'm not going to be mad if he doesn't. If he comes in, cool, great, let's go, let's do it. But if he's not, all cool, I think that's where people get a little bit, obsessive or a little bit clingy or whatever else it is, or a little bit, I don't know, whatever. They get a little bit too caught up in thinking, oh, we heard this one rumor or whatever that Jericho might be coming into TNA, so he's definitely coming into TNA, and if he doesn't come into TNA, I'll be pissed off and rant about it and da-da-da-da and all this. Dude, get a life. Get a life. I got too much else to bloody well worry about if Jericho doesn't come in. If he does come in, as I said, all cool, great. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be good. But if it's not him coming in, oh well, whatever. Let's find the next person to come in or build up somebody else or whatever it is. You know, the world doesn't revolve around Chris Jericho coming into TNA. The world doesn't revolve around, anyone coming into any promotion. So, same thing for Jericho going to WWE. If he goes to WWE, cool, great. If he doesn't, cool, great. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan or whatever over there, but like, if he does his thing over there, cool. But I won't, obviously I won't care, but like, will people really care that much if he's not there? There's other people to be excited about, or at least in my opinion, they shouldn't worry. There's other people to be excited about and interested in, and other stories going on that, are worth your time, that don't involve him, and that you could be caring about. And just like, if he turns up, excitement. But if he doesn't, whatever. Should move on. I think that's where people get a little bit lost. They don't remember that, hey, oh well, I've got these other 20 other people, 30 other people, or whatever else it is that I can be sitting here and excited for. And that's the thing, like, WWE and AEW have so many people, and like a few of them recently have been kind of released or whatever, or their contracts have lapsed, just because they're like, wow, we've got that many wrestlers and we don't even know what to do with them all, and we've just got not enough money to retain all of these people. So, and we just don't have enough time for all of these people. So, whatever. They can go back to the indies, or they can go back out there into the world, and we're not going to cry about it because we've got tons of people that can fill those roles and more. So, and even if we don't, we can find some more other talent that we'd be more interested in. So, same thing for TNA. They shouldn't be too worried about any one person or any one thing. Absolutely go after some of these people and say, hey, we'll treat you right, we'll treat you well, we'll find something for you to do, and we'll put you in the top position as you deserve, or like for Jericho, but for somebody else, hey, we'll treat you well, we'll give you something to work with, and yeah, it'll be a good time, and you'll be here, and you'll be working with a whole bunch of our talent, to help develop you and help get you from where we're at to where you're going or whatever. Even if you're just like passing through to go to WWE, same thing. Like, and that, like, people say, oh, they're poaching. They've been poaching for decades, dude. That hasn't changed just because they've got this this partnership or whatever. Perhaps they get a better of a look of some of these people, but like, so what? Honestly, like, I think people make too much of a big deal about it and whatnot. But it isn't great when it's like, oh, we don't have some of these talent, and like, we took so long to develop them and whatnot, and now it's like, well, now they're not here because we could have used them in another role to help build up some of the other performers that are on the roster and whatnot. So that's the one thing that is a little bit of a not a sad thing, but it's sort of like an investment type thing. It's all about investment. How much time did we invest in Gianna Perozzo? How much time did we invest in Josh Alexander? How much time did we invest in Joe Hendry? How much time, etc., was invested in all of these other people that have, especially in the last few years. No, I'm not going to talk about people from 10, 15 years ago or whatever, because obviously, yes, there was a lot of investment in AJ and in Bobby and in many other people as well that left. And Eric Young and so many others. I'm not going to go through the whole friggin' list. But again, there was a lot of investment still in a lot of those people, and now they're not there. So, and sometimes it does feel like, oh, well, is it really worth our time to invest in people if people are just going to leave to go to WWE or AEW or whatever? Well, yeah, that's what the business is, bro. People are always going to move around and do things. And people say that the business isn't like it used to be, where there's multiple options. Yes, there bloody is. There's many, many multiple options for wrestlers today to go from one territory from one independent circuit to another, or from AEW to WWE, or from WWE to AEW, or from WWE AEW to TNA, or from TNA to AEW WWE. So there's always other options, like there's MLW, there's New Japan, there's NWA, there's so many like other little options that are out there that people, find a niche in, and do their own thing, and get paid pretty well to do whatever they want to do. So I don't see the difference really. I think people are, yes, there could be still more in some ways, and some more of these like more minor promotions or whatever, the independent promotions could be made better, but you're not going to get there until like the point at which they can take their product from just being a local regional thing to being a more global, or even more at least countrywide thing, which takes a lot of effort. And even though some of these places have got, some of these like bigger stars on their rosters, it takes a heck of a lot more investment to get, TV time every single week, and then where are you going to fit in the landscape as it is? Because you're going to have to compete with WWE, AEW, and TNA, let alone the other more minor promotions of the NWA and whatnot. So, like there's wrestling on just about every day of the week. And if you've got wrestling on a Saturday or a Sunday, that's usually the pay-per-view days. So the only day that's really available right now is Tuesday. I think AEW does have a show on Tuesday. I can't remember. It's not Dynamite. Is it Collision or Rampage or something? I think. Maybe. I can't remember. Or is it on Thursday? I don't know. I don't know when it's on. I don't really care. But whatever. These are my thoughts on the idea that Jericho could come into TNA. I just wanted to talk about it, because I think, again, I wanted to talk about the whole, are people getting a bit, too far ahead of themselves and being like, oh, that'd be great or whatever. Of course it'd be great, but, take it with a grain of salt. Don't get too overly excited, or don't get too overly invested in it. Just, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, type thing, But obviously you should be, they should be saying, hey, to TNA, well, we do want to see him, or we do want to feel like, there is another person coming in, or there is more major momentum, and hey, Jericho will be here, and then he'll, do something for a few months or whatever it is, and then he'll, go to WWE or whatever. Or is he going to be here more long term? You don't know. But again, don't fret. Do say, hey, let's get this show as good as it can be, because that's what it's going to take to be on AMC and to get millions. And that's what we need, millions of people to tune in. We need millions and millions of people to tune in, so that people can be not just knowing what's happening, but building this thing up, man. That's where we need to be, So hopefully we can get there. So yeah, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this one. I hope you join me again in another one.